Hey guys, let's go to Marvel. Hey, we're drunk. Let's go swimming. No, we're not going swimming. Where? And pay? What are you doing? Marvel movies are famous for their final scenes, which are shown both during and after the credits. More often than not, they conclude a storyline or foreshadow the events of a future movie. Today, you will see all 55 final scenes in order. Opening our today's episode is the very first scene after the credits of the 2008 movie Iron Man. Tony Stark returns to his mansion late at night and finds S.H.I.E.L.D. director Nick Fury there. The latter tells Stark that he's not the only superhero in the world, and strikes up a conversation about the Avengers Initiative. In The Incredible Hulk, after the credits, we are shown General Thaddeus Ross sitting in a bar after the Samuel Blonsky incident. At one point, Tony Stark appears and greets him, informing him that a special team will be assembled. "I'm sorry, General, but the Super Soldier program was shut down for a reason." Stark: "General, you always wear the best suits. They say you're in trouble." In the next scene after the credits of Iron Man 2, Agent Phil Coulson arrives at the dig site and calls his boss, Nick Fury, letting him know they've found it. It turns out to be Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, which is shown in close-up, which is a hint of the next movie in the Marvel Thor cinematic universe. Then comes the scene after the Thor movie credits, in which Professor Selvig, walking through the lab, meets Nick Fury. In their conversation, they discuss the events that have occurred, and Selvig's research. At the end, Nick Fury opens a silver briefcase and shows the professor something connected to sensors. Nick says it's energy, learn how to mine it, and it becomes inexhaustible. Loki appears in the reflection next to Selvig and says it's worth looking at. Selvig obediently repeats Loki's words. "Well, I guess it's worth a look." In a scene after the credits of the 2011 movie First Avenger, Rogers is shown in training. He hits a punching bag with such force that the bag flies off and rips. Nick Fury then appears and recruits Cap, offering him a mission to save the world. A teaser trailer for the next Avengers movie is then shown. The next 2012 Avengers movie and its two final scenes. The first is between the credits. In it, a servant of Thanos named The Other meets his master sitting with his back to him and informs him of Loki's failure. He shares his fears about the power of the heroes of Earth, saying that to challenge them is to face death. Afterward, Thanos turns and smiles ominously. The second scene after the credits shows that before dispersing, the Avengers, tired after the battle for New York City, went into a diner where they silently ate the shawarma Stark mentioned. After the release of Iron Man 3, a scene was shown in which Tony Stark tells Bruce Banner about his battle with Aldrich Killian. After finishing his story, he realizes that Banner slept through most of it. Ignoring Banner's complaints, Stark begins to talk about his life problems. In a scene between the credits of the movie Thor 2: Kingdom of Darkness, foreshadowing the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, Sif and Volstagg arrive at the Tanalurteven Museum. They give the ether to a collector for safekeeping, as they don't want to store it in Asgard at the same time as the Tesseract. After they leave, Teven utters the phrase, "One down, 5 to go," making it clear that he has been searching for the Infinity Stones for some time now. Isn't it more reliable to keep one in his possession? Keeping 2 Infinity Stones together is unwise. I can assure you that it will be untouchable. Use your head. 1 down, 5 to go. In the second scene, after the credits, Thor returns to Earth in the arms of Jane Foster, and they kiss passionately. Apparently, the god Roma has decided to stay with her. In the last scene, the Jotunheim monster, who had previously passed through an interdimensional portal during the final battle, hunts birds in London. In the scene between the credits after the movie First Avenger, another war, foreshadowing the events of the movie Avengers: Age of Ultron. Von Strucker is at the base where he is studying various items, including a scepter. Strucker stops by a pair of cells where the twins Mercury and Scarlet Witch are being held. Sooner or later, they will meet the twins. The Age of Miracles has arrived, and there is nothing scarier than a miracle. In the second scene, the Winter Soldier, dressed in civilian clothes, visits an exhibit on Captain America at the Smithsonian Institution Museum. Here he finds a booth about James Buchanan, Bucky Barzy, that is, about himself, and reads it carefully. In the first scene after the release of the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, Groot, being planted by a twig, dances next to Drax, who is sharpening his knife. When Drax looks in Groot's direction, Groot freezes, but continues dancing when Drax turns away. In the second scene, Tanelier Tevan sits on the remains of his museum. His former exhibit, the Soviet space dog Kosma, approaches him and licks Tevan's face, to which another specimen of his collection, Howard the Duck, says it's disgusting and also sips alcohol from a glass. The next scene is from the movie Avengers: Age of Ultron, where Thanos, tired of his underlings failing to get him the Infinity Stones, puts on the Infinity Gauntlet and declares that he will collect the stones himself. What follows is a scene from the movie Ant-Man that hints at a sequel to Ant-Man and the Wasp. Hank shows Hope an experimental, untried wasp costume created for her mother and suggests that Hope accept it. She never wore it. Maybe it's time to try it out. So what are we waiting for? In the second scene after Ant-Man, foreshadowing the events of First Avengers confrontation, Captain America and Falcon hold the Winter Soldier hostage in an undisclosed location with his metal arm in a vice. The captain asks Falcon if he should call Tony, but he refuses and says he knows who to call, implying Ant-Man. The next two scenes are after the movie First Avenger, The Confrontation. The first between the credits shows Rogers and Bucky taking refuge in Wakanda, courtesy of T'Challa. Bucky decides to be frozen until they can find a cure for his mind. Rogers warns T'Challa of the possible consequences if anyone finds out about the Winter Soldier. However, T'Challa makes it clear that he is prepared for anything. If it becomes known that he is here, they will come after him. Let them try. In the second scene, well after the credits, Peter Parker is looking at his new web shooters. Aunt May walks into the room and asks Peter about his abrasions, to which he replies that he was beaten up by Steve from Brooklyn and his great friend. When Aunt May left the room, Peter continued to watch the web shooters, which began emitting a red spider symbol. In the scene between the credits after Doctor Strange, foreshadowing the movie Thor 3 Ragnarok, Thor visits Doctor Strange, who treats him to a beer and asks why he brought Loki to New York. Thor replies that they are looking for his missing father Odin. Strange offers his help on the condition that they leave Earth when they find Odin. So, magician, who are you, and what do you want? My name is Dr. Stephen Strange, and I have a few questions for you. Tea? Not tea. I'm afraid your half-brother Loki is on that list. Of course it does. Coming up, the second scene after the Doctor Strange credits. Here, Karl Mardo visits Jonathan Pentborn and strips him of the magic that once cured his paralysis, claiming he's doing it because there are too many sorcerers in the world. Mardo: so what did you want, buddy? What follows is the first hilarious scene after the movie Guardians of the Galaxy, Part 2, where Kraglin has taken Yondu's crest and starts learning how to control Jack's arrow. But he's not very good at it, and as a result, he accidentally injures Drax, after which he runs away in fear. In the second scene after the credits, Stakar Ogart assembles his team after Yondu's death. It includes Aleta Ogart, Charlie 27, Martinekis, Mainframe, and Krugar. In the third scene, unhappy that the Guardians of the Galaxy have escaped, Aisha shows one of her priestesses a cocoon and declares that she is creating the perfect overlord to destroy them. She decides to name him Hell. Is this the new template for the birth pod? This is my child. It has the power to destroy these Guardians of the Galaxy, and we will name him Adam. In Part 4, Peter Quill walks in on a teenage Groot playing a video game. Quill complains about Lian and Leafs, who are scattered all over the room. Lian, Groot. Beginning to understand Yongha. In the last scene, the Watchers leave Stan Lee's informant and he asks them to stay and listen to his adventures, then give them a ride home. Pros. What follows is the first scene after the credits of the movie Spider-Man: Homecoming, where Adrian Toomes finds himself in jail and meets Mac Gargan, the future Scorpion from the movie's universe, who tells him that he knows who Spider-Man is. However, Adrian decides to cover it up and says that if he knew who Spider-Man was, he would have been dead a long time ago. If I knew who he was, I'd be dead by now. In the second scene after the credits of the movie Spider-Man: Homecoming, Captain America, portrayed in a public service announcement, talks about the importance of patience, and it seems like it's not worth it. And you think, why wait so long for something so unimportant? Maybe enough is enough. The next movie is Thor Ragnarok and its final mid-title scene, which foreshadows the events of the upcoming movie Avengers: Infinity War. Loki asks Thor if he will be respected after the Battle of New York, but Thor believes that everything will work out in time. The brothers then see a huge spaceship in front of them, which turns out to be Thanos, who arrives and changes all their plans. In the second scene after the credits, Grandmaster meets a group of his former subjects who are still rebelling and claim the revolution ended in a draw. Just so you know, I'm proud of you. I played no small part either. What's the point of revolution if there's no one to overthrow? And so far, it's a draw. In the first scene after the credits of Black Panther, T'Challa appears before the United Nations in a rebuilt military international center and declares that Wakanda will open its borders and use its resources to help the world. We must all learn to take care of each other. King T'Challa, what does your agrarian country have to offer the world? In the second scene after the credits, Shuri visits a recovering Bucky Barnes, who has awakened from his cryogenic state. She tells him that he still has much to learn. Good morning, Sergeant Barnes. Bucky, let's go. You still have a lot to learn. Coming up next is a scene after the credits of the movie Infinity War, in which Nick Fury and Maria Hill almost get into a car accident. When they got out of the car, they saw that there was no one in the car of the person who caused the accident, and that's when they realized that people started turning into dust after the flick. Mariah, and then Nick Fury also turned to dust. But he managed to send a message through a pager transmitter with the Captain Marvel logo on it, as an emergency. The next two scenes after the movie are Ant-Man and the Wasp. The scene before the credits is the epilogue to Avengers: Infinity War. Scott goes to the quantum dimension and gathers energy for Ava so that she can be fully healed in the future. At the same time, Hank, Hope, and Janet watch the process and keep in touch in slang. But when Hope starts the countdown to Scott's return from quantum reality, the connection is suddenly cut off. At first, Scott thinks it's a joke, but in the same second, Hank, Janet, and Hope turn to dust. In the second scene, after the credits, Scott's house appears completely empty. A state of emergency is declared on television. Meanwhile, a giant ant continues to play the drum kit. In the first scene after the Captain Marvel credits, Steve Rogers and Natasha look at the number of dead people across the land in the movie, and with Bruce Banner and James Rhodes already joining them, they study the name found on Fury's pager and try to figure out who Fury sent his message to. Then Captain Marvel arrives at the Avengers' new base and asks them where Fury is. Fury new, reboot. It would be nice to find out who our caller is. Where's Fury? In the second scene after the credits in Fury's periphery, Goose jumps on a table and spits out a tesseract after several attempts. What follows is the incredible scene after the movie Spider-Man: Far From Home. After flying around the town, Peter lets MJ go and is about to leave. However, he and the whole town sees a report that shows fake footage of Parker and Quentin Beck dueling. The latter claims that Spider-Man was summoning drones. Then J. Jonah Jameson also shows footage where the mystery reveals Spidey's identity as Peter Parker. Peter is able to call off the drone attack. There will be civilian casualties. I don't care. Everyone will suffer. Friends, this is proof. Proof that Spider-Man killed Mysterio. But that's not all. How's this for a twist? You might want to sit down. Spider-Man's real name is Peter Parker. In the second scene after the credits, Talos and Soren are riding in Fury's car, where Talos says he passed the glasses to Parker, and also reports all the latest developments to Nick Fury. Meanwhile, Fury himself is vacationing with the Skrulls at the space base, and after resting, asks who stole his slippers. People are working. Who stole the slippers? In the movie Black Widow, after the credits, a scene was shown in which Elena Belova comes to the grave of Natasha Romanova to say goodbye to her adopted sister. Unexpectedly, she is approached by Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, who hires Belova to eliminate Clint Barton, telling her that he was the one involved in the death of the Romanovs. The movie Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings ended with two scenes. First, the main characters, along with Bruce Banner and Carol Danvers, study the 10 rings after learning that the transmitter is inside them. When they're done studying the rings, Shang-Chi, Kathy, and Wong are already singing karaoke. Transmitter. Sending the signal. Good luck, guys. Welcome to church. Go home and get some sleep. May I? In the second scene, Shui Xialing becomes the leader of the 10 rings. She sits on her throne and watches her fighters train. In the first scene after the credits of the Eternals, Finn, McQuarrie, and Druek are flying home looking for their friends. They are unexpectedly teleported to them by Pete Troll and Eros, Thanos' brother, who informs them that they know where the kidnapped Eternals are. Thanos' brother, Ballet of Worms. I am Eros. This is Pete. And you, I take it, are the legendary Beauty Finn. Your friends are in big trouble, and we know where they are. In the second scene after the credits, Dane Whitman finds an ebonite blade that is an ancient relic of his ancestors. However, due to the strong sounds when he touches the blade, he was unable to pick it up. Then an unfamiliar voice addressed him. "Are you sure you're ready, Mr. Whitman?" Below is a scene from the movie Spider-Man No Way Home, in which Eddie, Brock, and Venom, who has also arrived from another reality, talk to the bartender about the Avengers and Thanos, after which Brock wants to see Spider-Man. But like all the guests, Brock and Venom return to their reality. However, a small piece of the symbiote remains in the other reality, which hints at the appearance of Sony's Venom in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which we are all actually looking forward to. Sheep brains. They eat brains? I answer, Senor, I haven't seen my family in 5 years. That's a long time. Maybe I should go to New York to see this Spider-Man. Let's go swimming. No, we're not going snorkeling. Where? Pay for it. What the hell is this? In the extended version of the movie, Spider-Man No Way Home, in the scene after the credits, Betty Brant makes one last appearance on the Midtown News program on graduation day, showing photos from her high school years that also feature Peter Parker, but differently altered due to memory erasure. Even if the future seems exciting and unknown to us, remember that memories will always be treasured. That was Betty Brant. I'm done. Happy graduation. The next scene after the credits of Venom 2. Yes, it's not part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but Venom has one foot almost there. Here he tells Brock about what the symbiotes know about the other universes, after which Eddie and Venom are transported by blinding light from their hotel room to an unfamiliar room where they watch J. Jonah Jameson report on TV that Spider-Man is Peter Park. What the hell are you doing? It's not me. This is shocking news. He's Spider-Man. He's a spider menace. Dude, what are you doing in my hotel room? After Doctor Strange Multiverse. In the first scene after the credits, Steve meets Clay, who opens a portal to a dark dimension and informs Strange that he must help her prevent the merging of worlds he's inflicted on the multiverse. If you're not afraid. Not afraid at all. The second scene after the credits focuses on Strange's encounter with a pizza delivery guy in a hot air balloon. As I recall, once on Earth in 838, Chavez didn't pay for her pizza, which angered the vendor, and when he saw Strange, he mistook him for a thief who had stolen a local Stevens clothes from a museum. For this, Strange cast a spell on him, which caused him to start beating himself up. In the very scene after the credits, the peddler stops beating himself with his hand, saying, "It's over. It's over." In the scene after the movie Thor, Love and Thunder, Zeus, a heavily scarred Zeus, became disillusioned with the power of the gods when they became superheroes after Thor's popularity. He decided to kill Odinson to regain the power of the gods, hiring his son Hercules to do it. They want these superheroes as their own. That's it. They'll be afraid of us again. At some point, Odinson will fall from the sky. Do you understand me, my son? Yes, father. Recall that in Scene 2, Jane Foster has arrived at Valhalla, where she is greeted by Heimdall, who thanks her for saving her son and shows her the place. Greetings to you, Valhalla. Thank you for saving my son. Welcome to the Hall of the Gods. In the scene after the credits of the movie Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, we are shown Nakia approaching Shuri with a baby. She explains that this is her son by T'Challa, who Ramonda, Shuri, and T'Challa's mother dated before her death. The boy introduces himself as Toussaint and tells Shuri that this is his Haitian name, and he was actually named after T'Challa's father. It's a pleasure. Me too. Then there are scenes from the movie Ant-Man and Wasp, Quantumancy. After the death of Kengo the Conqueror in the quantum dimension, Rama Tut, Scarlet Centurion, and Mortis meet up, because those responsible for the death of their variant have contacted the multiverse. Mortis has also contacted the entire Council of Kangs to start a war against those responsible. How many probabilities have you summoned? Every single one. In the second scene foreshadowing the second season of the Loki series, during the show, a variant named Victor Tamely gives a speech to the audience, including Loki Amoebius, the latter of whom doesn't think he's as awful as Loki told him, but Loki claims that all of Kang's variants are awful. Kang will still be back. Rounding out the issue is the just-released Guardians of the Galaxy 3 movie. In the first scene, after the credits, Captain Rocket leads the new Guardians of the Galaxy. They include Groot, who is bigger than he was in his previous form, Adam, Cosmo, Philo, Kraglin, and Blurk. In the second scene after the credits, Quill has breakfast with his grandfather, who is busy reading an article about Kevin Bacon being abducted by aliens during Christmas. That's all for today. See you later and give us a like.